Analysis Corporate America seems for leeway on U.S. climate disclosures. Washington, Boston business associations for top U.S.-listed corporations have pushed again against a landmark thought by way of the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) to make corporate America divulge a variety of greenhouse gas emission figures. Groups together with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Bank Policy Institute, the National Association of Manufacturers (NAM), and the American Petroleum Institute (API) asked the Wall Street regulator for greater discretion within the details they provide to investors, consistent with public correspondence dispatched to the company. The scale of the pushback highlights the strain the SEC faces to dial returned at the least some of its climate schedule, even though the extent to which agencies may be a success in winning concessions stays to be visible. The regulator has additionally visible a display of support in favor of the regulations. The letters, dated this month, got here in reaction to a draft rule the SEC unveiled in March that could require public businesses to spell out their personal direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions, known as Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. The decree would also require that corporations reveal emissions generated by means of suppliers and customers, referred to as Scope 3 emissions, if they may be material or included in any emissions objectives the agency has set. This component of the rule has attracted some of the strongest resistance, such as from a top investor institution. The proposed regulations are vast and unheard of their scope, complexity, rigidity and prescriptive particularity, wrote the Chamber of Commerce, the most powerful U.S. change group. Among other things, it cautioned Scope 3 reporting need to be voluntary. Comments on the inspiration have been due on Friday and could tell the SEC's final rulemaking, which a few analysts assume by using the end of the year. Many businesses now make ESG environmental, social and governance disclosures below voluntary requirements, and with eyes on tendencies inside the European Union, in which officials goal to cut Internet planet-warming emissions by way of 55% through 2030 from 1990 ranges. U.S. President Joe Biden has stated he wants to reduce U.S. greenhouse gas emissions in half through 2030 and attain net zero emissions by 2050. SEC Chair Gary Gensler has said the corporation turned into responding to needs for regular records from buyers, who've poured some $7.5 billion into U.S. sustainable price range thus far this year. ILLADVISED misadventure, the SEC's rule should face felony challenges on account that its advantages do no longer outweigh the massive reporting expenses, or that it exceeds the SEC's authority, consistent with a remark letter from George Mason University law professor J.W. Verrett. To be sure, the enterprise has received a good deal assist too, along with from Democratic U.S. senators and from the California Public Employees Retirement System, the biggest U.S. pension fund. It praised factors of the inspiration, which include its name for businesses to provide information about ability emissions reduction targets. Some of the most pointed grievance came from U.S. Republican politicians, echoing different critics of ESG making an investment who say that efforts to address environmental and other social issues are great left to elected leaders, no longer corporations. West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey, at the side of 23 different kingdom officials, as an instance, called the SEC's proposed rule an ill-advised misadventure into environmental law that is legally indefensible, and should be suspended. Republican senators additionally pushed lower back against the SEC's idea, arguing that the measure would impose massive charges on the U.S. economic system. Looking for tweaks, top enterprise groups did now not move as some distance as calling for the rule to be scrapped, featuring rather adjustments to slim its scope. NAM suggested rescinding proposed Scope 3 reporting requirements and easing compliance with Scope 1 and Scope 2 reporting necessities. Such adjustments could drastically ease compliance burdens and decrease investor confusion, even as nonetheless retaining the spirit of the proposed rule, it wrote. While the API said it could not support the contemporary inspiration, it does assist well-timed and correct reporting of GHG, greenhouse gasoline emissions. Investors have extensively supported the frenzy for brand new climate disclosures as a manner to clarify the modern-day mix of corporation statements, which could vary broadly in element and method. The Investment Company Institute (ICI), representing Pinnacle U.S.